Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Loretta, also known as Lopi in the Wild. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, special welcome to you. But for those of you coming back, I appreciate you revisiting what I'm up to. And today what I'm up to is I'm going to tell you the story of how I came to this van. And it's not a direct route. It's going to involve previous vans. It's going to involve tents. It's going to involve a Subaru Forester. It's going to involve a recreational vehicle, also known as an RV. It's going to involve being a Girl Scout. So I'm going to tell you my story a little bit about just my love of camping. Sit back and I'll share with you a story, and I'll share some pictures along the way of some of the vehicles that I've had and some of the methods I've used. So as you know, or may not know, I am now camping in a actually not right at the moment. I'm at home at the moment, but I camp in a Volkswagen Eurovan Westfalia, a 2001. And it's a pop top and has really been meeting my needs in terms of it's very compact, and I've been able to configure it in a way that really works for me. But going back in time, my first van was actually a van that I rented with my boyfriend at the time, which was 30 years ago, more than 30 years, a little over 30 years ago, in my early 20s. And we rented a Ford Econoline, like extra long van. I'll put a picture here so you can check it out. And we went from Kansas, where I was living at the time, to California, and took a road trip up the coast of California, and had quite an adventure. I was actually going to see a Grateful Dead concert there, and but yeah, we basically, it was just a completely empty van. Again, this is like 92, 93, something like that, and we just threw our mattress in the van that we just used for our regular bed, threw a mattress in there and a cooler, and basically just hit the road. And that was really the beginning of my love affair with van travel and camping adventures. That trip in itself is a story of its own. But alas, I've never been a person who's been able to kind of give it all up for van life. So I went back to my life and my job. At the time, I was a graduate student. And then fast forward another year or so, and I'd really gotten the bug for vans. And I get my first van that I buy, and I'll show a picture of that here, a 1970 VW Westfalia van. And it was actually, when I bought it, it was painted pink. I think I paid about $700 for it. It was worth much more than that to me. However, of course, it would have lots of problems. I was not a Volkswagen mechanic. My boyfriend at the time was also not a Volkswagen mechanic. With those cars, you kind of need to be a Volkswagen mechanic to be able to even own one. But yeah, we took a big adventure in that. Actually, that boyfriend of mine and a friend. So it was three of us in this van, going again from Kansas. We went up to Seattle and broke down in Seattle. I lived in the U District in Seattle for a while the van was being worked on. Went up to Vancouver, British Columbia. Van broke down again. Lived in the parking lot of a mechanic until that one got fixed. Quite an adventure, as you can imagine, but obviously stories to tell. Oh, also we had our yellow tabby cat named Bruno with us in that particular van. So that particular van trip. So you can imagine, with three humans and a cat in a tiny van, it was pretty weird. So yeah, so fast forward again, I got rid of that van. I bought, few years later, kind of more in my late 20s, I bought a 1978 Volkswagen Westfalia. This one was orange. And that one I never really got off the ground. I think it needed work when I got it, and I ended up parking it at my friend's house because I had moved some and I didn't really have any place to put it, and I parked it in the backyard of a friend's house, and it just like slowly started to become part of the earth. It had all the makings of a perfect planter, where you could like open it up and maybe have it become this giant planter of like letting sort of the flora kind of grow out of it. But it just got flat tires and, you know, lots of rodents, I'm sure, and eventually had to be towed away. So that was the VW van that never was. But mostly throughout my adulthood, I've mostly just done tent camping, and there have been stretches of time where I've done more of it and less of it. Did a little bit of backpacking, but not that much. I've mostly just more been a car camper type person. Um, but my real love for camping really started as a young person, little kid. I was a Girl Scout, and my parents weren't outdoor people. I didn't come from a camping family at all. I never did anything like that with my family, and so Girl Scouts was a way that I could camp. So that was very cool, and we stayed in some regular tents and some platform type tents, you know, cooked over the fire, sang around the fire, and went on hikes. And I just absolutely loved it. And then I started doing that in high school with some friends as well. But yeah, and then as I said, more as an adult, a lot of tent camping around 2018, 2019. I had the idea that my husband and I could get an RV, and I could renovate it, and we could go on some adventures together. We had a pickup truck at the time, and so we wanted to get something that we could pull, that we could both sleep in, and so yeah, it was a pretty good size RV, and I didn't completely gut it, but it was in good shape. It was just really ugly. I don't know if some of you have been inside some of these prefabbed RVs, but they can just be pretty ugly, for lack of a better term. So I was doing a lot of painting and redoing of upholstery and that kind of thing, was sort of the focus. But it was a complete overhaul. It was my first big project of that type, like that was really my own project. My husband helped me on a few things, but mostly it was my project, and it really turned into something special. And we had some fun adventures with it. But eventually, our truck started to die, and it got me rethinking like what I really wanted in a camping vehicle. Um, my husband is not a big camper, and I really did need something that like would work for one person, and I didn't want to pull something around. So yeah, so I started looking at vans. Though in between there, I converted a Subaru Forester that I had gotten into a camping vehicle, and I went out west for about a month, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and I traveled around in the Forester that I had built out. Just created a platform bed and created a kind of a kitchen setup in the back, you know, hatch where I could stand and cook. And oh my gosh, that was really fun. That was a really great adventure, and that was 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. But I did decide that living in a car when I was out on the road, you know, wasn't ideal. I wanted a little bit more room. I wanted, you know, a little bit more amenities, and so that's when I really started looking into a van, and I ended up with this van. So this is around COVID time when people were kind of going crazy buying these kinds of vehicles. So definitely overpaid for this van, but yeah, I saw it came on in these vans are pretty niche and pretty hard to come by. And I saw this one that came up that looked pretty pristine. That was in Minnesota. Happened to have family in Minnesota, so I flew myself out to Minnesota and drove it home. And so I had my first camping adventures on the drive home. And so I've had lots of camping adventures in this then in the last few years that have just been fantastic, from yeah, all over the Northeast, into the Southeast, into Upper Midwest, into Canada, Ontario. I also went to Halifax, Nova Scotia in it last summer, and that was a blast. That was after this most recent build that I've done in here. That was kind of my first run with this new build. So I've had a lot of fun in it so far. I'm still early into the YouTube dimension of documenting all that. So yeah, there's just a lot more to come. I'm really excited about what's in store this spring. Even here in a couple weeks, I'm going on an exciting adventure. Uh, yes, to be named. It is a secret. I will not tell you right now. You have to stay tuned. But I'm really excited about that. And then, yeah, this summer I'll be going out to the Pacific Northwest, so I will reveal that. That's the plan. So lots to come here in the near and far future. So I appreciate you being here, being interested. Keep coming back. Yeah, you'll never know what kind of surprises you'll find in the video. And yeah, it's just sharing my heart and sharing my inner teenager who just has always longed for these adventures, and more importantly, just time outside in nature, which I really crave. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, if you did, give it a like, make a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications button so you know when the next one's coming out. I'd really love to keep seeing you here and yeah, be in conversation with you. Take care.